Hey folks, happy Friday. Nothing happened in Washington yesterday. You didn't miss anything. We were all watching the Comey hearing. So catching up today with our weekly episode of Privacy TV. For all of you who can't get enough of how companies, governments, businesses, and yesterday even schools are using data. Amelia Vance, our policy counsel who leads our student data work, is here. She's off camera, but I'm going to show you what she has built for you. If you're a policymaker, a company, vendor who does work in schools, or a parent who has kids in high school, elementary school, or college, because the rules are different, as you probably know. Many of you know my son is not yet at college, but he's taken some of the early pre-PSATs, and so we are getting that barrage of mail from colleges, and it's been useful to understand exactly what rules govern, since his data obviously is being made available to colleges. Most of them are sending interesting, useful stuff, but obviously you want real limits on how that data is collected and used. All right, so we call it FERPA Sherpa. You all know what a Sherpa is, right? I thought that was a really great term when we thought of it, and I've had some people who have said, "What? Why Sherpa?" Right? Sherpa, those are the folks who help you climb Mount Everest. Those are the people who carry all the stuff. Unfortunately, many of them risking their lives to climb Mount Everest and to help you up there. But it's become a term often used in complicated situations. The trade Sherpas are the people who try to go through all the complicated processes to try to get a trade deal done. So FERPA Sherpa, FERPA being the federal student data law. Kind of complicated because the federal government does not regulate schools, does not regulate companies. What it does do, right, we keep that regulation at the local level, but what it does do is it gives out money, and it has budget hooks, so that if you don't follow their rules, then you risk losing money. Now, some critics say that's not enough. A school makes a mistake, or a school district makes a mistake and sends out the report cards to the wrong students. Is the Department of Education actually going to hold back the school's funding? But the reality is schools don't want to even risk that, so it is a pretty fearsome penalty, and frankly, a lot of the mistakes that we see schools making, some range from trivial but serious, and then others are serious. So on this FERPA Sherpa, you'll see a national chart of all the places where there have been cybersecurity incidents, real problems, where schools or districts weren't able to keep data safe. But the typical mistake is something much more simple. The teacher sends out an email saying, "Hey, everyone, log into this new program we're going to be using," and your child's password is their name and class of 2018. And this makes a lot of sense because it's convenient. But of course, they've just given away everybody else's password to everybody else. And if there is something sensitive in there, like maybe grades or report cards, that obviously is a problem. All right, let me see if I can show you one of the most exciting parts of FERPA Sherpa here. I'm going to turn my computer, and do you see this? This is our, let me see if I can get it. There we go. This is the chart of, how many, Amelia?
109.
109 state laws. So depending on what state you're in, the laws are different, and if you're a vendor,
2013.
Just since 2013. We're not counting the old ones that have been on the books for a long time. These are new ones, and if you're a company and you're an app developer or a company providing data to schools, you obviously want to make sure, and this is one of the only easy resources. You could pay a lawyer thousands of dollars, but we're doing it for you thanks to support we get from not only companies, but the Gates Foundation and others who realize that it's easier for us to do this one time, try to do it well. All right, let me go back here, and this time I'm going to show you our parent guide. I'm assuming some of you are not student data geeks. Some of you are actually parents, and that's why you're watching this. And so if you're a parent, yes, we have for you, oh, there we go. We have our parent guide, and we have a vast amount of resources for parents. You know, the most important thing, which doesn't somehow get on the radar of a lot of the private advocate, Sheila Kaplan, who leads efforts to make people aware that school districts can share your kids' information if it's directory information, which can mean things like, you know, your name and address, with those who ask for it unless you opt out. So you probably noticed, maybe you didn't notice at the beginning of the school year, getting a form advising you that you can opt out. Many people don't. I don't advise you do, frankly, because a lot of schools, despite the fact that there is this option, they still have to declare the data directory data. And many don't because they don't see any reason to deal with people requesting it. The reason a school might be legitimately sharing your data sounds, why should a school share my kid's data? Maybe a kid's on the football team and is going to be in the newspaper. Maybe a yearbook. Everyone gets the yearbook. That's sharing it publicly. Maybe your kid's in a school play. There's a whole range of reasons why your kid's information might be publicized to the school community, right? Which means within the school, but it's parents and relatives, and it might be the local paper and the like. And so those are typically the reasons why opting out of directory information means your kid's not going to be in the yearbook, which you probably didn't intend to do. Schools can decide to share only for limited purposes, like the yearbook or the PTA guide that lists, all the parents and so forth. Many don't. Smarter ones are increasingly coming up with very nuanced policies so that your data is going to be shared for the kinds of uses that most parents find useful. Some have higher reasons. There's a domestic situation. There's some reason that they don't want their information broadly available to the whole community. But many parents find that things like their name being in the directory of a school play or maybe being listed as on the honor roll is expected. And broader uses, well, perhaps that's what they don't want. All right, but that's one of the key things. The other issue that many parents ask is, hey, my kid is using Google Classroom or Microsoft's school products and services or Edmodo, different apps that teachers are using because they're finding it useful to stay in touch with parents, let kids give in their homework immediately. There's no more of that, my dog ate my homework. When your kids finish their homework, they submit it and the teacher has it. And you then hopefully easily can see the teacher marking it up and get better feedback about what's going on. But what are the rules for how those companies who are holding this data can take it and use it? They are supposed to have a contract with the school in most cases where they promise to only use the data for the authorized educational purposes, like providing that service and product and not anything broader. But there are some apps that are in schools because teacher thought it was interesting. Teacher sometimes says, hey, there's a great show on the History Channel. I recommend everybody watch it at 8 o'clock, and then we'll talk about it the next day. Well, today, that show might be delivered via an app, maybe on your TV, maybe on your kid's phone or iPad or the like, and the content might indeed be an app, right? Today, the content we consume is not just created on TV. It might be a YouTube video that someone streamed. It might be a Khan Academy or code.org, and teachers are directly consenting by agreeing that that company can have your kid's data. If they've got an agreement that they agree, typically the school is going to consider that a contract, and if it's data that the school actually needs for testing or for the like, it's going to be covered under FERPA. But in some cases, if it's simply an app, the teacher says, hey, everyone go download, there's a good math, there's a math app. Parents were complaining. There was a New York Times story saying this app was too addictive. It's a math app. Kids are waking up and parents, what's it called? Dreambox Learning. Evidently this math app is so addictive because of the way it encourages kids to kind of compete and do better and keep coming back, that instead of messing with video games or Clash of Clans or Clash Royale, you can tell what's happening in my house, they are waking up early to sneak in some Dreambox Learning time. And this was considered a negative thing. I'm like, addicted to doing math? I mean, that should be our challenge. But in any case, the teacher might say, go download this, and the app then would be covered under the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Anyway, we go through this in great detail. Amelia and her team has done a phenomenal job. Take a look. We'll post it. Melanie will post it in the comments, as she always does. Take a look at FERPA, Sherpa.org. Hey, share the word. Your friends may not know about this. We put a lot of work into it. There are sections for state policymakers, legislators, state education department people, obviously companies, anybody who has any angle on student data. We've put it out. Now, let me tell you, we don't agree with everything that's on there. There's some stuff on there by advocates who say this is all bad. Nobody should use technology. Beware. Our goal is let's put it out there so you have a comprehensive set of just about everything that we could find. And some of it is stuff that we produced where there wasn't anyone doing it. So we stepped in, not only that state chart, but a parent guide, we've done a teacher guide. For those of you who wonder why is anyone doing research using education data, we've tried to explain the reasons that researchers want data and how they study it to try to improve and learn what is succeeding, what is learning, identify discrimination, and so forth. That's enough for today's Privacy TV. If there are topics you'd like to see us address, post them in the comments and maybe we'll get around to it. Bye-bye.